Buddy, this is MG Malice coming to you with StarCraft 2 gameplay, and this is Nexus Wars. It's a very popular custom game, and sort of speeded everything up a bit. So anyways, this game is, I think, one of my favorite Nexus War games. I mean, StarCraft 2 custom games, because I guess it's because I'm not such a good micromanager macro, because like I don't have a ridiculous amount of clicks per minute or anything like that. I normally use my mouse. I don't use hotkeys, so I guess you could say I'm not a good StarCraft player, but I like to think of myself as competent when it comes to the custom games. So let's start off. I am purple, and I'm with and it starts off with a 4v4 tug of war game, and normally it splits up into 2-2. And my friend and I, Core and I, we were actually sitting next to each other while playing this, so we were able to communicate really well, and that's one of the key parts of this game, good communication, because with that it's easy to win. So let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. So I enjoy playing as Zerg in virtually all custom games. In terms of Nexus Wars, Protoss and Terran are good if you're able to quickly mass anything, really. And Zerg are really good at their counters, because I think for me personally, one of the strongest AA units are Corruptors, in fact. So being Zerg in this game is very good. As you just saw there, a nuke was used. Each player on each team gets one nuke, and essentially kills everything in the nuke radius. And as you can see, our strategy, Core's strategy in mind, was to get early roach, and the build order for that is, as soon as the game starts, get one spawning pool and Zergling, and then save up for a roach. And the way the income works is that every 15 seconds you get an income, and the more buildings you make, the bigger the income. And we were allowed to build one pylon, which drastically increases. And there's different, levels. There's different upgrades, and when you first build it, you get plus 16, and then plus 32, and plus 64, then 10 something, and then 164. I think that's right. So as you can see, they're starting to push back on top, with Stalkers and Marauders, and for some reason Core saved up for a Broodlord, which this early in the game is fairly useless, especially because they have Stalkers. I called out to my teammates, get ready to repair top, because photon cannons are essentially what's supposed to be used early game. And my teammate there was concerned that there was too many units up top for us to hold them off with the cannon. But with all four of us repairing that cannon, we were able to push them back. As you can see, and that Broodlord's just sort of chilling there, just tossing broodlings at it. It's pretty funny. And I think the key to being able to push back is essentially massing anything. Massing a unit that can attack air and ground normally gets you to win. Later on in the game, Hydras and Stalkers just won't cut it, because they'll have Ultralisks, Thors, Colossi. They'll just destroy all Stalkers and Hydras, or for Terran, Marines. Yeah. So when you first load up the game, they give you like a little guide intro thing, and they say the key to this game is countering. Well, there's a lot of discussion for me personally about that, a lot of debate, because I found that essentially massing 2 units or 1 massive unit is you can normally win. Like one very popular strategy is massing Void Rays, massing Broodlords, massing Corruptors, massing all of the tier 4, tier 3 units. So as you can see, on our side, I've massed Ultralisks, which I don't think you've been able to see really clearly yet. But on my side, on top, I'm starting to get Ultralisks now. See? 3 more just went down. And my friend Core, he was just messing around, so he decided to build a whole bunch of Zerglings. So, and that was considerably useless, because they just die immediately against, as you see, Void Rays, Thors, and Immortals. And as you saw, my Ultralisks also died there pretty quickly. However, I found that if you get Ultralisks mid-game, it's actually really good because they count as a tank essentially, and they can take a lot of damage, which is good if you have a lot of ranged units, because then they get to work on it. But as you see, on top they just had too many Thors, and they're starting to push back now. You see there's a whole bunch of Banelings to the upper left. Yeah, that was us screwing around, because when we first thought about it, we were like, we're gonna mass Banelings and see how it works, see what happens. Yeah, so that doesn't really work when they have a crap ton of Thors and Void Rays, because the Void Rays quickly destroy the Banelings, and the Thors they can take a lot of hits. So I didn't exactly delete. Well, like you. Okay, so wait, quick little intro thing. You have a certain amount of supply. You have 90 supply that you can use, and the stronger the unit, whichever tier unit, the more supply it takes up. Like Ultralisks take up 6 supply, and Zerglings take up 1. So you can see the difference there. Sorry about the recording, because my mouse gets weird sometimes every once in a while. So anyways, as you can see, there's creep going down. That's one of the queens, as you see walking by right there. That's one of the queen's abilities in Nexus Wars. It automatically spreads creep. Now, as you saw me just throw down a bunch of corruptors. The reason for that was that I saw they had a lot of Vikings. As you can see there, I'm deleting the Banelings because I needed more supply so I can build more Ultralisks. My teammate Core just went for some more Immortals, which is fine, but not really, because 4 Immortals isn't really going to get you anywhere. Like I said, normally massing something, as you can see, Corruptors right there, is the key to winning. So I massed Corruptors, try to get rid of our opponent's Vikings and Void Rays, because if those were gone, all we would have to deal with are Thors. Now, admittedly, Ultralisks aren't so good, so Core and I had to come up with an idea. And he asked me about, what about tech switching? Like, because we were both at Zerg at the beginning. As you can see, he's sort of transitioning into Protoss. But yeah, he's trying to transition to Protoss, and he asked me how often that works, because he doesn't really play too many custom games. He normally does classic Starcraft. So I told him, well, if you transition really quickly, like if you have a bunch of, let's say we're Zerg, if you have a bunch of Ultralisks, and you realize that Ultralisks are dying ridiculously fast, and you need to get Colossi to take out the Thors, or whatever unit, if you can quickly delete all of your Ultralisks and quickly build all of your whatever, in that case it was Colossi, then it works. But otherwise you have to be very careful about doing that, because it could go bad. Now, as you saw, see right there, bottom was being pushed hard, but they had 4 Chalupa cannons. Now, people who played Starcraft don't, just the standard Starcraft, don't really know what a Chalupa cannon is, but in Nexus Wars, it essentially makes a photon cannon a badass cannon, honestly. It shoots like 100, it shoots twice as fast, it has like 2,000 more health. And it costs to make a Chalupa, it costs 150 for the photon, and then a 300 mineral upgrade. So as you can see there, we're being very close to dying. They have so many Immortals and so many Thors. There's really nothing we can do about it with the Chalupa cannon, because they'll just destroy the Chalupa cannon immediately. So I used my nuke right there, as you saw, and it was very bad timing for the nuke, because you see how many Thors just walked in? That's very bad timing. Like, the nuking is, I consider, like an art when it comes to Nexus Wars, because if you can nuke at the exact right time, you have your wave of either Ultralisks, Colossi, Corruptors, and they have nothing coming. That allows your units to stack up and therefore push back. As you saw there was a second nuke used because I had a very bad timing, so my teammate also, not Core, but team on bottom had to use a nuke. As you can see, their Ultralisks are plowing through the Thors, but to be perfectly honest, we never really push back on top throughout the rest of the game. It's just pretty much a standstill. They gain a little space. As you can see there was a Razor Storm going. That's because my opponent on top bought a Queen of Blades, and as a result, I did too. So, because the Queen of Blades has a good AoE attack, the Razor Swarm, and against what we had, it was really good because it got rid of the Corruptors, and it got rid of the Ultralisks. And as you can see his position, he also has a bunch of Immortals, Stalkers, Thors, Voids, also bunched up. However, I wasn't so worried about the Voids because our Corruptors were there and taking them out bit by bit. So it was mostly at that point a game of who had the best land units. And as you can see, the Ultralisks die relatively quickly. And yeah, my teammate still has his Zerglings. I don't know why. I was yelling at him sort of the whole time to, like, delete all the Zerglings. They're just cannon fodder. They're not doing anything. You're just feeding them money, because if you kill an opponent, you get money. It's like you're feeding them money, and it's just not worth it. Delete them so you can build better things. As you can see there was a Colossus that he built, and you can if you keep on watching, you see him ridiculously quickly transition into mass Colossi, which is really good with Ultras. So yeah, so we're slowly starting to push him back, get him out of our area base, whatever you want to call it. But it takes time. See, all those, he essentially had a stack of 6 Hydra, and there, he finally deleted his Zerglings. But he got a stack of 6 Hydra, and then built Colossi, as you see right there. He replaced all 6 Hydras with Hydra nests with Colossi. So that means 6 Colossi would spawn at the same time, which is a really good transition. So essentially for both of us, we had reached our supply cap. I had to keep essentially what I did, because if I transitioned, I would run out of money. And the key at this point in the game, because this is normally what happens, it normally reaches like who's going to push first and who's going to run out of nukes first. That normally determines the game. See, there's the Colossi that he used. We're doing their business, doing their work. A key thing to note in Nexus Wars is that after 40 minutes of gameplay, if nobody's won, all units go into a frenzy and deal 300% damage, as you will see fairly soon. As you can see, the pylons, they're red. That's because the pylons have upgraded. As they upgrade, they change colors. I think it's the standard color, and then like light blue, and then dark blue, and then red. No, then purple, and then red. But the key normally at this point in the game is essentially to just upgrade, because it's essentially an infinite amount of upgrades. See, as you can see there, the 40-minute mark has been reached. Units are dealing 300% of the damage. If you look on the minimap, I started freaking out, so I deleted all my Ultralisks and just built mass Marines, because Marines have relatively quick attack speed and they're ranged, and with 300% damage they can take out just about anybody. As you can see, the Colossi are there, but they're dying really quickly because of this amount of Thors. So it's essentially a race. Who's going to win? Our opponents on top or our allies on bottom? As you can see, my allies had a couple of Odins, 2 Odins, launched the nukes, didn't really do anything. We launched some nukes, they launched some nukes. And so it's just a bloodbath. Whoever wins first is going to win. I mean, whoever takes out the opponent's Nexus first is going to win. Fortunately for us, because our teammates had units spawning, their units didn't attack our Nexus and went after our units instead. And boom, we killed their Nexus, and we won the game. So thank you, and this is MG Malice, and that was Nexus War in StarCraft 2.